Hey Canucks fans, welcome to the line change. In this video, we're going to be going over an interesting topic. Now, I'll be the first to say I don't really pay too much attention to, whenever there's a new CBA or, that type of discussion. It's a little outside my wheelhouse. I'm not as prevalent into the whole, that side of the NHL or hockey. I usually don't pay any attention to it. But obviously, with this new CBA, obviously there is going to be some big changes. In particular, it's going to be obviously an 84 game schedule instead of 82, starting next season. So 2026, 2027. The season will be starting in September instead of October. And also the preseason will be a lot shorter. And then they are also hoping to have the Stanley Cup Finals wrap up earlier in June than towards the end of June, like it currently is. So obviously those are some very big changes when it pertains to not just the Vancouver Canucks, but the NHL as a whole. And that's why I've, looked into a little bit more in regards to this CBA because of those changes. But that's not what we're talking about in this video. We're actually going to be talking about this new CBA, as there are other things along with the 84 game schedule. There's other things as well, and that includes this new CBA gives us, the Vancouver Canucks, two major advantages in re-signing Quinn Hughes. But before we dive into that topic, as I always do, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of this artwork you see here. And you guys can check them out yourselves at gassjackart.com. You can also find them on Instagram, at gassjackart. There is a link to his website in the description down below. So let's go ahead and dive into this article written by our friends at Canucks Army. This article written by Stéphane Roger. And he goes on to say, the success and rapidity with which the NHL and the NHLPA reached an agreement on their next CBA this summer was great news for everyone. It ensures labor peace from now until 2030, and for a sport that suffered through multiple lockouts, that's a big deal. However, the latest understanding reached between the two sides, which includes an agreement on the timeline of the new CBA and when its changes will take effect, contains even greater news for one franchise in particular, and it's the Vancouver Canucks. In short, the NHL and the NHLPA have agreed that all the rule and regulation changes entailed in the new CBA will be rolled out over the next year. Some major changes, like the institution of a salary cap in the playoffs, will take effect immediately and apply to the upcoming 2025-26 season. So starting this year, there will be a salary cap for the playoffs. So Vegas Golden Knights, no more, pulling your little antics heading into the playoffs. There will be a salary cap. So no more LTIR, buds. Anyway, other changes will take effect on September 16th, 2026. And two of those changes will give the Canucks, as I mentioned, two major advantages when it comes to their most important task, which is extending Captain Quinn Hughes, Operation Keep Quinn, before his current contract expires as of the summer of 2027. The first such change is one that has already been reported and is now explicitly tied to September 16th, a change in the maximum contract length. As of right now, the Canucks can offer Hughes a contract with a maximum length of 8 years. Technically, the Canucks cannot offer Quinn Hughes that contract now, but a year from now, they can. However, that changes as of September 16th, so technically So they have until September 16th, 2026 to offer him that 8-year contract. And the maximum length then becomes 7 years for a player re-signing with their own team and 6 years for anyone signing with a new team. In other words, between July 1st, 2026, when Hughes becomes eligible for an extension, and September 16th, 2026, the Canucks will have an exclusive 2.5-month window with which to offer Quinn Hughes an 8-year deal. Barring a trade, they're the only team that will be able to offer him a contract of that length. In fact, if he decides to test the market as a UFA, he'll drop all the way down from a maximum of 8 years to a maximum of 6. And sure, 2 years might not sound like a massive difference, but it is when you're talking about the sort of salary that Hughes can demand. Imagine, for example, he signs a deal with an AAV of about 15 million, something that is well within the realm of possibility. An 8-year deal with a 15 million AAV is going to entail an extra 30 million in income compared to a 6-year deal. That's a vast, currently Canucks exclusive advantage, but it might not be enough to get the deal done on its own. We've heard this summer that one of the Hughes' brothers, Luke, is attempting to sign an extension that will end in 2030 when their other brother, Jack Hughes, sees his current contract end. If Quinn is of the same mind, then he'd want to sign a 3-year extension anyway, and there's not much advantage to being able to offer an 8-year deal. Under that scenario, Hughes would probably be figuring he'd make up that extra 30 million and maybe more on his next contract. However, there is a second, less reported component to these CBA changes that also takes effect as of September 16th, 2026, and it gives the Canucks an even greater advantage when it comes to extending Hughes. This change involves signing bonuses. As of right now, signing bonuses have very few limitations, so long as a player's base salary is the league minimum of $775,000, then the rest of their contract's value can be entirely in signing bonuses, and for star players, that's often the case. But as of September 16, 2026, all signing bonuses will be capped at 60% of the value of a player's contract. Signing bonuses also hold several distinct benefits for players in comparison to their base salary. Signing bonuses are paid out in lump sums, often right at the start of a season. One doesn't have to be a multimillionaire to understand that getting your money into your own pocket sooner is always beneficial, allowing for greater interest and investment income. But signing bonuses are an especially large deal for American athletes playing for Canadian franchises like Quinn Hughes. According to article XBI of the tax treaty between Canada and the US, signing bonuses for artists and athletes count as inducements to sign, not income, and are thus taxed at a reduced flat rate of 15%. Compare that with the top federal income tax bracket of 33%, and the swing is considerable. We're talking about the potential to cut one's tax burden in half, and then some, which for someone signing a contract as large as Hughes would translate to millions of dollars. It's true that this is a bigger deal for Americans playing in Canada, but it applies nearly across the board to some degree. Aside from certain tax havens like Florida, where income tax is already at a minimum, signing bonuses are almost always taxed less than regular income. Signing bonuses also have the extra advantage of being lockout proof. They're paid out regardless of any labor stoppages. And buyout proof in that they still have to be paid out even if a player's contract is bought out. Not that Hughes ever needs to worry about a buyout. Doesn't even have to worry about that. But still, that's another advantage. If Hughes signs an extension before September 16, 2026, then his contract could theoretically be almost entirely paid in signing bonuses. If he signs after September 16th, he's limited to that 60% signing bonus cap. In other words, the Canucks have the exclusive ability to offer Hughes almost 40% more of his contract value in signing bonuses. Put it all together, and the Canucks will have 2.5-month window between July 1 and September 16th, during which they may offer Hughes 8 years instead of 6, which we mentioned already, representing about $30 million in extra value, and offer him far more of his contract in the form of signing bonuses, which translates to a drastic increase in what Hughes actually takes home. It's true that all of this may not be enough to convince Hughes to stay. The reality is that he'll be able to make a good living anywhere he goes, and if his heart is truly set on leaving, he'll still probably leave. But what this CBA timeline rollout really means is that it is the Canucks who will be able to offer Hughes the largest contract, and by a fairly large degree. What more could they ask for? It's worth mentioning here too that even if Hughes indicates next summer that his preference is to leave, that 2.5-month window applies to any team that might trade for him as well. At the very least, that would make Hughes a significantly more valuable trade asset, should it come to that. But let's not focus on the worst case scenario. The Canucks will be able to offer Hughes tens of millions more dollars than any other franchise. And hey, when was the last time anyone can remember the NHL and NHLPA conspiring to give the Canucks an advantage like this? So that is the article written by Stéphane Roger. Much like the last video and article that we did, I will leave a link to this in the description down below. It's a great read. Stéphane Roger's articles are always top-notch, and I absolutely love utilizing them for my videos. But I want to know what you Canucks fans think. What do you guys think about these two major advantages that the Vancouver Canucks have in re-signing Quinn Hughes? They can offer him the most years at 8 years between July and September 2026. So essentially, 1 year from now, we'll be having this conversation again, or perhaps earlier than that, like during the off season, and like in the months of, from July to September, we'll probably be talking a lot about this, 1 year from now. They can also offer him the most when it comes to signing bonuses. Most of his contract can be signing bonuses, and if he doesn't sign it by September 16, 2026, those get drastically reduced. Obviously, he can no longer get an 8-year deal. It can only be 6. And obviously, with the signing bonuses, there's a cut with 60%. And yeah. So once again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you guys think this is going to help the Canucks re-sign Quinn Hughes? Or do you think, maybe Quinn Hughes just doesn't care about any of this and, just wants to do what he wants to do, whether that's playing with his brothers. Obviously, we mentioned, Luke Hughes wanting to sign an extension that, allows him to be a free agent in 2030, same time that Jack Hughes is in. Is there even a possibility that Quinn Hughes may want to go the same route and sign a 3-year deal with the Canucks and then also become a free agent in 2030? Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find us on social media, as you can see there, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. And lastly, if you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on Spotify as well as Apple. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow as well as rate and review us. It's, of course, greatly appreciated, and it really helps out the podcast. But that's going to do it for me. As always, let's go Canucks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.